Put your hands behind your back. You're under arrest. Two fake cops in cheap uniforms stormed my driveway at 7 a.m. over a 3-inch garden gnome. I stood there in my bathrobe, coffee still steaming in my hand, while one of them flashed plastic handcuffs and the other read from a bogus document citing federal violation 47B, unauthorized lawn ornament. Neighbors peeked out from behind curtains. Mrs. Rodriguez started filming on her phone. Mr. Patel watched in stunned silence. These frauds had been terrorizing the street for months, scaring 3 elderly residents into selling their homes, finding people for flower pots, threatening foreclosure over Christmas lights. Mrs. Spencer next door no longer gardened. Her roses were gone because she was too afraid to plant anymore. What made me smile in that moment was simple. They had no idea who they were dealing with. After 15 years as an FBI agent specializing in financial crimes, I recognized exactly what these clowns were doing. 3 months earlier, I had moved into Maplewood Estates for 2 reasons: to investigate multiple complaints of HOA fraud targeting elderly homeowners, and to find a quiet place where my teenage daughter Emma could visit after my divorce. My name is Theodore Kane. When several families reported aggressive enforcement tactics forcing property sales, my supervisor assigned me the case. The perfect undercover assignment: buy a house, blend in, document federal crimes from the inside. My first morning there, I was enjoying the smell of fresh mulch for a small landscaping project when Mrs. Spencer appeared with homemade cookies and a worried expression. "Welcome to the neighborhood," she whispered, glancing around nervously. "Just watch out for the HOA president." Before I could ask more, a white BMW screeched into my driveway. Out stepped Brenda Hartwell, blonde, 50-something, carrying a leather portfolio like it held state secrets. Her vanilla perfume was overpowering. She clicked across my porch in stilettos, acrylic nails tapping her clipboard like machine gun fire. "Mr. Kane, Brenda Hartwell, HOA president. We have several compliance violations to discuss. I had moved in yesterday. Your garden gnome violates Aesthetic Protocol 12A. Your mailbox flag is unauthorized blue instead of regulation navy." She pulled out a measuring tape. "Your grass exceeds community standards by 0.3 inches. She announced each violation cheerfully, explaining that each carried $150 fines accumulating daily. That's $450 for week 1. Lucky for you, we've enhanced our enforcement capabilities recently. Much more persuasive than the old system." Enhanced enforcement. The phrase lingered. After she left, Mrs. Spencer hurried back with other neighbors. Harold from across the street, the Patels from the corner. They told me stories. Families forced out after months of harassment. The Hendersons lasted 4 months. The Kowalskis 6 weeks. Photos showed Brenda's relentless inspections. She targeted newcomers and the elderly, people unlikely to fight back. That evening, I spread case files across the dining table. Cross-referencing property sales with FBI complaints confirmed the pattern. 12 properties sold below market value after enforcement pressure, all purchased by Hartwell Properties, LLC. 3 more violation notices appeared in my mailbox overnight. Non-compliant doormat color, $750 and counting. Emma called, excited about her weekend visit. "Dad, kids at school heard about some crazy HOA lady. Please tell me that's not you." The next morning, Brenda's BMW idled outside again. Cigarette smoke drifted through my window while she made calls. Surveillance was already in motion. Mrs. Spencer called at lunch. More violations overnight. And men in police uniforms asking neighbors about me. My phone rang. Blocked number. "Mr. Kane, Officer Rodriguez with HOA Enforcement Division. We need to schedule a compliance interview. Bring payment for outstanding fines. Cash only." I played along. "Sure, Officer Rodriguez. Tomorrow morning work for you." The next morning, 2 men in navy blue uniforms marched up my driveway. Badges looked official from 20 feet. Up close, they were pure costume quality. Rodriguez was tall with shifty eyes. Johnson was built like hired muscle. Both carried handcuffs. "Sir, you've accumulated $1,247 in HOA violations over 8 days, Rodriguez announced. "Failure to pay within 24 hours results in residential trespassing charges." I nearly laughed into my coffee. Residential trespassing on my own property. They demanded compliance or escalation procedures. When I asked for badge numbers and credentials, they fumbled. Our identification is in the patrol vehicle. Protocol requires handling violations first. I started recording on my phone. Single-party consent state. Perfectly legal on private property. They tensed. Recording law enforcement without consent is illegal. Actually, it's not. So which police department employs you gentlemen? More guilty glances. We're specialized contractors working with local authorities on residential compliance issues. I kept the camera rolling. Johnson stepped in my space, trying intimidation. We've handled situations like this before, Mr. Kane. Asked the Hendersons how cooperation worked out better than resistance. They had just confessed on tape to a pattern of targeting residents. That afternoon, I took the footage to the real police station. Sergeant Martinez watched with disbelief. We don't have any HOA enforcement unit. Never have. These are impersonating officers, federal territory. I told him I wanted the whole operation. Racketeering charges, not just local mischief. Researching HOA law that evening, I found Maplewood Estates' original 1987 charter in public records. Maximum fines $25. No enforcement authority beyond board votes. Everything Brenda was doing violated her own governing documents. Mrs. Spencer called at 10 p.m. The fake officers were back, asking neighbors about my schedule, whether I lived alone, what I did for work. I installed hidden security cameras that night. A text arrived from an unknown number. Final warning, Kane. Payment due tomorrow or enforcement actions begin. Cash only. I replied, looking forward to meeting your supervisors. The response came instantly. You'll regret this attitude. Threatening a federal agent via text. They were building my case for me. The next morning, Brenda arrived with her attorney, Richard Malloy, thin, ill-fitting suit, sweating despite the cool air. They serve a cease and desist claiming I was harassing HOA officials. Now I supposedly owed $4,200 in administrative fees. Background checks revealed Malloy was Brenda's cousin, fresh out of a low-tier law school, handling closings almost exclusively for Hartwell Properties. Deeper database searches showed the scam wasn't local. Identical tactics in 3 other counties. Fake fines deposited into Brenda's personal accounts. Properties flipped for profit. Organized racketeering. Friday morning, 4 men in matching uniforms marched up my driveway, claiming a federal arrest warrant for HOA violations. Neighbors gathered, phones out, live streaming. Mrs. Spencer called her nephew, a real police officer. Harold, a Korean War veteran, pointed out the uniforms were costume grade. Rodriguez tried to handcuff me. I flipped open my credential wallet. Federal Agent Theodore Kane, FBI Financial Crimes Division. You're all under federal arrest. Rodriguez froze. Johnson went pale. Brenda dropped her microphone. I radioed backup. Real FBI agents arrived with warrants. Rodriguez, Johnson, and the others were taken into custody for impersonation of federal officers, mail fraud, conspiracy, extortion. Brenda stammered. There's been a mistake. These men aren't. Too late. Everything was recorded, multiple angles, live streams. Professional news crew Jessica Kim had embedded. 6 months later, I sat on my porch watching Emma help Mrs. Spencer plant new yellow roses. Brenda pleaded guilty to 47 federal charges. 8 years in prison, $340,000 in restitution. The fake security company lost licenses across 7 states. Federal asset forfeiture returned most of the stolen funds. The neighborhood formed a legitimate HOA with Mrs. Spencer as president. Transparent finances, $25 maximum fines, community votes. Harold's basement became a community archive, preserving the evidence as a warning. My bureau created a national task force targeting HOA fraud. Emma started college writing about civic responsibility and community courage. She now studies criminal justice. Sometimes the best defense against bullies isn't federal training. It's reading the original charter, asking questions, and refusing to be intimidated when the threats don't add up. The power people think they have is often just noise, hoping you won't look too close. How many of you have dealt with someone waving a clipboard and making threats that didn't quite add up? Drop a comment if you have. Knowing what you're actually dealing with is usually the strongest move you can make.